A detailed summary and reflection on Virata Parva, the Book of Virata, the 13th year of hidden exile in the Matsya kingdom, the disguises of the Pandavas, the killing of Kichaka, the cattle raid by the Kauravas, and the great battle where Arjuna reveals his true power and defeats the entire Kuru. The Book of Virata covers the 13th year of the Pandavas' exile, which they had to spend in complete concealment. They take up various disguises in the service of King Virata of the Matsya kingdom, Yudhishthira as the courtier Kanka, Bhima as a cook, and Arjuna as a eunuch dancing teacher. The year ends with a massive battle against the Kauravas, who invade Matsya to steal cattle, where Arjuna reveals himself by routing the entire Kuru host. Virata Parva is the fourth major book of the Mahabharat. It has 67 sections and around 2000 verses. This book tells about the final year of the Pandavas' 13-year exile. The first 12 years were spent in the open forests. This last year had to be in complete hiding. If anyone found out who they were, they would have to start the exile all over again for another 13 years. That was the condition set at the dice game. The Pandavas choose the kingdom of Matsya because it is far from Hastinapura and ruled by King Virata, who is fair but not especially powerful. They enter his court in disguises that hide their true nature but allow them to stay close to each other. The book opens with the Pandavas arriving in Matsya after leaving the forest behind. They hide their weapons in a shami tree near a cremation ground so no one will find them. Yudhishthira plans the disguises carefully. He becomes Kanka, a Brahman who advises the king on games and dharma. Bhima becomes Ballava, a cook in the royal kitchen. Arjuna becomes Brihanada, a eunuch who teaches dance and music to the princes. Nakula becomes Granthika, a keeper of horses. Sahadev becomes Tantipala, a herder of cows. Draupadi becomes Sarandhari, a maid to the queen. Each disguise draws on their real abilities, but keeps those abilities out of sight. Arjuna's time spent in heaven learning music and dance from the Gandharvas now serves him in the most unexpected way. King Virata welcomes them without knowing who they are. He sees their skills and gives them positions in the palace. The year begins quietly. The Pandavas work hard and stay out of trouble. They meet in secret at night to talk and hold each other up. Draupadi has the hardest time of all of them because she serves the queen every day and feels the weight of her fallen status more sharply than the others. The book shows how they carry this year with patience and care. It says something worth remembering: true strength is not only in fighting. Sometimes it is in waiting and hiding when the moment demands it. The Matsya kingdom is peaceful under Virata. He is a decent king but not strong in war. His brother-in-law Kichaka is the real power behind the throne. Kichaka commands the army and carries himself as though he is the one in charge. He is strong, proud, and used to getting whatever he wants. The book builds its tension quietly over many months. Nothing dramatic happens at first. The Pandavas do their work well. Yudhishthira advises Virata on matters of right and wrong. Bhima fills the kitchen with food that makes everyone smile. Arjuna teaches the princess Uttara how to sing and move gracefully. Nakula keeps the horses healthy. Sahadev tends the cattle so well that the herds grow. Draupadi takes such good care of the queen that she becomes indispensable. Virata Parva has a different feeling from the earlier books. It is shorter and more tightly wound. The forest years were spread wide and full of stories from every direction. This year is narrow and tense. The Pandavas cannot be themselves. They must act small when they are anything but small. This creates moments that are almost funny: Bhima stirring pots in a kitchen, Arjuna gliding across a dance floor in women's clothes. But behind the humor sits real danger. If one person looks too closely or asks the wrong question, everything falls apart. The book teaches quietly that patience is its own kind of weapon, and that knowing when not to act is as important as knowing when to strike. The Pandavas reach Matsya after the 12 forest years, and their first task is to hide their weapons. They climb a shami tree near a cremation ground and tie everything up in a bundle that looks like a dead body. People avoid that place because they fear what lingers near burial grounds. Yudhishthira adds a warning that anyone who touches the bundle will be cursed. The weapons stay safe and untouched for the whole year. They enter the city one by one so no one suspects they arrived together. Yudhishthira goes first. He tells Virata he is Kanka, a Brahman who lost his wealth and wants to serve the king. He offers to advise on dharma and to play dice. Virata likes him right away and gives him an honored place in the court. Bhima comes next as Ballava. He says he is a cook who once served in a great household. Virata has him make a meal as a test and immediately hires him. Arjuna arrives as Brihanada, dressed in women's clothes, speaking softly and moving carefully. He says he knows music and dance, and was trained in a noble house. Virata sends him to teach his daughter Uttara. Nakula presents himself as Granthika, a man who loves horses and knows how to keep them well. Sahadev says he is Tantipala, a cowherder with a good eye for cattle. Draupadi comes last as Sarandhri, a woman skilled in beauty and the care of hair, who says her previous mistress was Draupadi herself. For many months life runs smoothly and without incident. Yudhishthira talks with Virata, guides him gently, and wins at dice but gives back whatever he wins so no one grows suspicious. Bhima cooks meals that have the whole palace looking forward to mealtimes. He also wrestles against challengers in the palace for entertainment but never lets himself go fully. Arjuna teaches Uttara and her companions with patience and real skill. He dances and sings well enough that no one thinks twice about who he might really be. Nakula brings the horses to a condition that impresses everyone in the stable. Sahadev quietly grows the cattle herds. Draupadi serves Queen Sudeshna every day with grace and skill that make the queen depend on her. The disguises hold because the Pandavas are careful every single day. They find ways to meet in private at night, share what they have learned, and remind each other that the year will end. Draupadi carries the heaviest load. She lived as a queen and now hands a comb to another woman. She does not break but the pain sits close to the surface. The book watches each person honestly. Yudhishthira turns to dharma when things feel uncertain. Bhima swallows his anger again and again. Arjuna keeps his pride completely out of sight. The twins put their heads down and do good work without complaint. This year asks something different from all of them than any battle ever did. It asks them to be invisible. That turns out to be one of the hardest things they have ever done. Kichaka is Virata's brother-in-law and the commander of his entire army. He wins battles, brings glory to Matsya, and carries himself with the confidence of a man who knows that the king cannot do without him. Virata depends on him completely. Then one day Kichaka sees Draupadi moving through the palace and something shifts in him. He goes to his sister Sudeshna and tells her to send Draupadi to his chambers with wine. Sudeshna is afraid of her brother and does not refuse. Draupadi knows exactly what is happening when she receives the order, but she has no easy way out. She goes, stays as far from Kichaka as she can, and tries to leave quickly. Kichaka grabs her arm. She pulls free and runs to the assembly hall where Virata is holding court and Yudhishthira is sitting nearby. Kichaka follows her right into the hall and kicks her in front of everyone there. The Pandavas see it happen. Bhima's hands go tight but Yudhishthira catches his eye and shakes his head slightly. To move now would end everything. Virata says nothing because he will not cross Kichaka. Draupadi picks herself up from the floor and walks out of the hall alone. The scene pulls the reader back hard to the dice game in the Virata Parva. Draupadi humiliated in front of a court that does nothing. The same silence. The same helplessness. She finds Bhima that night in the kitchen and she does not ask gently. She tells him she cannot carry this. She tells him Kichaka has to die. Bhima understands. He makes a plan. He tells Draupadi to send Kichaka a message saying she will meet him secretly in the dance hall after dark. Kichaka believes it without a second thought. He comes to the dark hall full of expectation. Bhima is waiting there instead. What follows is short and absolute. Bhima takes hold of Kichaka and breaks him. He twists his arms, crushes his bones, and leaves him dead on the floor. In the morning the servants find a body so badly destroyed that it barely looks human. Word spreads that a Gandharv killed him, which is what Draupadi told people to say about her invisible protectors. Kichaka's brothers are so frightened and angry that they decide to burn Draupadi alive on the funeral pyre along with him. Bhima hears what is happening, slips away from the kitchen, and kills the brothers before they can carry it out. Draupadi walks free. Virata looks at her differently after that. He has seen something he cannot quite name, a maid protected by powers no one can see. With Kichaka gone, Matsya is visibly weaker. The man who held the army together is dead and there is no one to replace him. The Pandavas feel some relief but also know the year is not yet finished and the kingdom's new weakness will attract attention from exactly the wrong direction. News of Kichaka's death travels and reaches Hastinapura. Duryodhan and his advisors put the pieces together. Kichaka was known as one of the strongest warriors alive. The fact that someone killed him so completely, in a kingdom suddenly sheltering several strangely capable servants, points in one direction. Duryodhan decides to test his theory and at the same time weaken Virata. He plans a cattle raid. Stealing a king's cattle is a direct blow to his wealth and his reputation. Susharma of Trigarta attacks from the south to split the Matsya army and draw Virata out. The Kauravas will strike from the north while the kingdom is divided. The plan works at first. Virata rushes south with his army to fight Susharma. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadev go with him, still in their disguises, and fight well enough that Susharma is defeated and captured. Virata wins the southern battle and feels confident. He does not know what is happening in the north. The Kauravas arrive in the north with a massive force and begin taking the cattle. The only person left in the palace who can respond is Uttara, Virata's young son. He is brave but very young and has never faced anything close to what is waiting for him out there. He tells his companions loudly that he would go and fight but needs a skilled charioteer. Arjuna, sitting nearby still dressed as Brihannada, quietly offers to drive. Uttara and the other young men laugh at the idea of a dancing teacher holding the reins in battle. But there is no one else and Uttara accepts. They ride out toward the Kaurava army, and when Uttara sees the scale of what he is facing, his courage leaves him fast. He tells Arjuna to turn the chariot around. Arjuna speaks to him calmly and firmly. He drives toward the shami tree, climbs up, and brings down the bundle. When Uttara sees Gandiva and the other divine weapons unwrapped from their hiding place, he goes very still. Arjuna removes the woman's clothes, straightens up to his full height, and tells Uttara plainly who he is. Uttara kneels at his feet. Arjuna tells him the 13th year ended the day before. The hiding is over. He puts on his armor, lifts Gandiva, and blows his conch Devdatta. The sound rolls across the plain and reaches the Kaurava camp. Some of the soldiers recognize it. Bhishma and Drona look at each other. They know what that sound means. A single chariot comes toward them across the open ground, and the man standing in it is Arjuna. What follows is one of the great passages of the Mahabharat. Arjuna fights alone against the full assembled strength of the Kuru army, Duryodhan, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Ashwathama, Kripa, and thousands of soldiers behind them. He uses divine weapons to blind, confuse, and scatter them. He wounds Karna. He drives Bhishma back. He takes the fight to Duryodhan directly and forces him to retreat. His arrows fall in such numbers that the Kaurava soldiers cannot see clearly and cannot hold their positions. He does not kill anyone. He chooses not to. These are his family, his teachers, men he has known all his life. He defeats them completely and lets them go. He takes back the cattle, allows the Kauravas to leave the field, and turns the chariot for home. He tells Uttara on the way back to say he won the battle himself. There is no need for the truth just yet. Virata comes home from the south to find his cattle returned and his son being praised as a hero. He celebrates loudly. Then Arjuna reveals everything. Virata stands in his own court realizing he has been hosting the 5 most famous men in the world for an entire year without knowing it. He is stunned and then deeply moved. He offers his daughter Uttara to Arjuna as a mark of gratitude and respect. Arjuna declines for himself but accepts her for his son Abhimanyu. It is a union that will matter greatly in what comes next. Virata Parva is shorter than Vana Parva, but it carries its own weight. What it teaches is less about battles and more about what it costs to stay hidden when everything in you wants to stand up. The Pandavas spend 12 years becoming stronger in the forest. They spend this final year learning something just as hard: how to be patient when the moment has not yet come, how to hold back greatness in order to protect something larger than the moment. Yudhishthira stays truthful even inside a lie. He never takes more than he should. He keeps his word in small things even when no one would notice if he did not. Bhima carries his anger quietly for months and only lets it out when doing so serves justice rather than pride. Arjuna puts down the bow that defines him and picks up a veena. The twins serve without complaint in roles far below what they were born to. Draupadi endures a second public humiliation with the memory of the first one still fresh. All of this is dharma in its quietest and most demanding form. Kichaka's story sits at the center of the book, and it says something plainly. Desire that does not know its limits destroys the person who carries it. Kichaka is genuinely powerful. He wins wars. He holds a kingdom together. And then he sees a woman in a corridor, and everything he built means nothing. Bhima's response is controlled and complete. He does not act out of rage. He acts out of justice, and he acts at the right time. Arjuna's battle at the end is the book's real climax, and it shows something beyond just his skill with a bow. He fights the people he loves most in the world, defeats every one of them, and spares every one of them. That combination of total capability and genuine mercy is what the Mahabharat holds up as the mark of a true warrior. He could destroy them. He chooses not to. That choice matters as much as anything else he does on that field. The book also closes a chapter on the Pandavas as people who are acted upon and opens the chapter where they act. For 13 years things happened to them. Now they begin to make things happen. The exile is finished. The war is coming. And the year in Matsya has shown them and everyone watching that they are more than ready. Virata Parva sits between the long forest exile of Vana Parva and the preparations for war that fill Udyoga Parva. Without it, the Pandavas would simply step out of the forest and into a war. With it, the reader understands that the final year of exile was its own test, different from everything before it and in some ways harder. The forest asked for endurance. This year asked for something more subtle, the discipline to hold back, to serve, to stay invisible, and to trust that the right moment would come. The book is also the most human of the early Parvas in a certain way. It puts the Pandavas in ordinary situations, a kitchen, a stable, a dance class, a queen's bedroom, and shows how they carry their extraordinary nature through completely ordinary days. There is something quietly funny and deeply touching about that. These are the same people who will stand on the field of Kurukshetra right now. One of them is chopping vegetables and another is adjusting a princess's footwork. Virata Parva ends with the Pandavas standing in the open again for the first time in 13 years. They are known. The Kauravas know where they are. The world knows the exile is over. The cattle raid failed. Arjuna won. The wedding of Abhimanyu and Uttara ties two kingdoms together. Everything is moving toward war now. The book's last pages feel like a held breath finally released. The waiting is done. Whatever comes next, the Pandavas will meet it standing up and in the open, which is exactly where they belong. This essay is part of the Deep Thoughts series on Mahabharat.at. Exploring the Mahabharat's most difficult moral questions, its characters, their choices, and what those choices mean for us today. Read the full essay and discover more at https://mahabharat.at.